Hi fellow Argonauts, I hope you're well. This video is in response to a lot of stuff I'm seeing online. A lot of people are really pumping the stock or getting really down on it, I'll be honest, things are swinging quite a bit. Every day it seems we're down 20%, sometimes up 20%, going sideways, 5% here, up and down. And a lot of people are playing the short-term game. But I want to really dig beneath the surface a bit and try and understand what is the long-term play. One of the questions that was coming up, I guess, about strategy, was this question from DeSantis 2024. And he was saying, what happens if, Argo decide to quit mining, if it's no longer profitable to mine, if they need to upgrade and replace equipment and those kind of things. And basically the answer to this is, well, why would you invest in a gold miner versus, say, a physical gold ETF, which you could easily do, or even physical gold. You can hold like gold bullion. So you can hold gold bullion under your bed if you really wanted to. Also, in terms of physical mining equipment, well, if you're a gold miner, you actually have to shell out a lot in your capital expenditure or capex, on exactly those kind of things. There's a lot of hardware involved, and if you structure deals correctly, for example, if you lease your equipment, like Argo does in some of its cases, then you can actually structure it in a way that you don't fork out for all the cash at once. So before I start, I should say I haven't got any inside information. I've got the same access you have to all the information out there. I'm just using my really mediocre powers of deduction to try and extrapolate on what's already publicly available. And this whole strategy kind of feeds into this, wider discussion about, the last Bitcoin being mined. So, someone on the internet actually asked about if all these mining companies, the Bitcoin mining companies, if they're successful, what they do actually, they'll just run out of Bitcoin, right? And yeah, the last Bitcoin is to be mined in about 2140, so quite some time away, over 100 years away. But still, if everyone's successful at what they're doing, that will be the end outcome. We'll be out of Bitcoin. So kind of what's next, really. So we can actually start to try and answer this question about Argo's strategy by looking at the homepage and how they describe themselves, how they view themselves. And Argo views themselves as propelling the future of blockchain. Okay, it doesn't say, to be the world's best crypto miner. It says propelling the future of blockchain. So let's look at the wider technology, or at least that's what I'm reading into this here. Listen, as I said, it could be me just reading into things, but let's see how, this whole thing stacks up if they really are looking at the wider picture rather than just mining. So if we look at what Argo say about their vision, they're saying we are committed to powering blockchain technology as it continues to grow and influence our global economy. So to me, I'm reading that as it's not just about mining. Yes, that's a big part. That's about what they're doing today. But what else are they doing? So from the Bitcoin mining point of view, they've invested in land. We know that 320 acres in West Texas, which is actually an asset that they can carry with them should everything, I guess, fold. But they're leasing equipment. So that's utilizing cash in a really efficient manner. So rather than having to pay for everything up front and then depreciate it, actually, they'll be able to eke it out and spread it, I think, over 24 months. So other investments Argo have made have been in 25% into Pluto, which is really like a venture capital kind of company for the crypto space. They've made a 100k investment into Luxor, which is basically this kind of profit switching algorithm. I don't really understand more than that, but we can go into some of the details of the RNS later. And lastly, they're doing mining as a service for institution, it looks like. So this is providing what I call, or most people call, clean Bitcoin. That's, the source of it. It's not like, for example, the diamond industry where you have blood diamonds, where you've got diamonds that have been mined in conflict zones or from dodgy political arenas of the world. Much the same with, these institutions. They want to make sure, or some of them want to make sure they know where their Bitcoin are coming from. So I'm sure you've all read this RNS from 10th of February of this year about Argo acquiring all this land. So I guess in the worst case, to answer one of the original questions, it all goes wrong, Bitcoin goes to like zero. What are we left with? Well, at least we've got a load of land and no debt. That's something, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know, like Peter Wall could always take up cattle farming or something like that. Maybe not. So the second RNS really makes me excited in Argo Blockchain and the potential here, because they've got 25% stake in Pluto Digital Assets PLC, which is basically a venture capital and technology company for the crypto space. And it kind of reminds me a little bit about Augmentum Fintech, which is a company I've covered in some of my other videos, which is really interesting. And they're bridging the gap between the crypto space and actually the traditional investment space. We then have the 100k investment into Luxor. And as you can see, it's basically a profit switching algo. So it basically maximizes earnings by switching between blockchains and venues to maximize hash rate rewards. So basically bang for buck, i.e. actually, mining, I'm guessing, the best coin out there. So it's pretty interesting to see that, then Argo is investing into more, I guess, IP technologies and those kind of fields rather than just mining. So back in November 2020, Argo talked about how they're being clever with their cash, leasing equipment, paying over 24 months, yada yada yada. But what interests me is actually they've got this mining agreement, so that they're getting some units that are being bought for by a third party, and they're just going to manage the mining services. So this is basically mining as a service. And for those who don't remember it, because it was back in 2018, the original Argo blockchain concept was actually mining as a service for individuals. So it's kind of feels like it's almost gone full circle, but not quite. So it's interesting to see them kind of pivot into different revenue streams. Lastly, I want to kind of go back all the way to the 15th of February 2019. Many of you probably won't be aware of this, but actually this was the date that Argo terminated all existing mining as a service contracts, or actually informed everyone that they were going to do that. So the last of these contracts were terminated on the 1st of April 2019, and it kind of shows that Argo is willing to change with the times and adapt. And I think that's something that as investors we should draw confidence in. Peter Wall, he's been through these kind of adjustments before. And actually, Argo Blockchain is a very resilient company, so we should draw some strength from that. So just to wrap this up, I'm going to throw a crazy idea out there. Where could Argo be in 10 years' time? Well, if we draw from the traditional mining environment, there's Glencore out there, and now Glencore was a consolidation between Xstrata and Glencore. So Xstrata had massive deposits and was a massive miner. Glencore was predominantly a commodities trader, and they merged together to basically vertically integrate, and it was became absolutely massive. Now, what do we know is happening at the moment? Well, Coinbase is going to be IPOing pretty soon, so that's something to be excited about. But what will happen if Coinbase and Argo got together at some stage over the next decade or so? Wouldn't that make sense in some respect? Very interesting space. Obviously, we've got the next decade to wait this out and see. But I hope this is going to kind of, get people thinking a bit beyond the short-termism of, NASDAQ listings and all of that, pumping up the share price, those kind of things. When you hold a stock, you should be thinking about the next 5 years. Okay, and I think Argo has a lot of potential here, but of course do your own research, yada yada yada. So I'd be really interested to hear from you about your thoughts about Argo's future over the next year, over the next 5 years, over the next 10 years, whatever whatever you think is appropriate. But yeah, thank you for joining me, thank you for your time, and take care. Also, pro tip, if you want to really raise your blood pressure, just go on StockTwits, look at Argo's share price and all the comments underneath, and it will probably just give yourself a hernia just reading some of the comments.